Good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome. And welcome to another B Corp Month breakfast session where we invite inspiring B Corp leaders from our amazing Benelux B Corp community for an informal breakfast chat. My name is Daan van Apeldoorn. I'm the Impact and Engagement Lead at BLab, and I'm calling in today from Clear Amsterdam, where the spring is about to kick in, but it's not here yet, I feel. For those who don't know BLab is the non-profit organization behind the B Corp movement. And you might know the B Corp movement because of the many inspiring B Corps which take part in that community. The community already counts over 6,500 for-profit companies which adhere to high standards of environmental and social performance, accountability, and transparency. You might know B Corps like Patagonia, Dopper, Zeepje, Triodos Bank, or recently certified HAC. Every year in March, we celebrate B Corp Month globally with our global B Corp community. And this month is all about we go beyond, because this is exactly what we do as a B Corp community. We go beyond business as usual. And today I'm joined by Hans Geels, CEO from Dille Kamille, who will be talking with me today about how Dille Kamille is going beyond the business as usual. Hans, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning. Are you calling in from Utrecht, where your headquarters is, or are you somewhere else?
No, I'm somewhere else. I'm in Belgium, in Namen, or as they say in French, Namur, and it's the capital of Wallonia, where we yesterday we opened our second French shop there in Wallonie.
Great. And for the people who in this call, this live Q&A, who don't know you yet, can you maybe tell a little bit about yourself and maybe share something which made you happy this week?
Made me happy. Yeah. Well, of course, opening a new Dille Kamille store, the 14th in Belgium, and as I said, the second in Wallonie. I'm Hans. I'm 58 years old. I had a long career in not-for-profit. So I was the head of marketing and communications at the World Wildlife Fund, Netherlands. And after that, I was the CEO of Kliniklaans, a Dutch charity, also a Dutch charity. And before those two, I worked at a broadcasting union in the Netherlands. The 1st of April, I'm working 10 years for Dille Kamille, so that's also making me happy. And what's making me happy the last 10 years is that I try to take what I learned from the non-profit side to take it to the profit side, and how we can encourage people step by step to live more conscious and more sustainable.
Great, thanks, Hans. And that's also exactly what the B Corp movement is all about, really bridging that gap and transforming the global economy, of course. In short, Dille Kamille is all about living consciously in harmony with each other and with nature.
Yeah.
It also a philosophy which you have implemented in your own lifestyle.
Well, of course, it's easier to preach than to practice. That's with all things in life, and also with me. But that's the beauty of our philosophy and about Dille, is that we encourage people to do it step by step. So my small steps are that I wash my hair with a shampoo bar, and not with a liquid plastic bottle anymore. For instance, I drink our natural tea without chemicals or and I use and we use in our house the natural cleaning methods. So it's quite easy to take these small steps, and I'm taking them as well.
Great. Sounds like a true Dille Kamille brand ambassador. And we need more of them, of course. Dille Kamille is not a new company. It was already founded back in 1974, I gathered.
Yes.
Even when sustainability at the time wasn't as high on the agenda as it is today for most companies. And basically, Dille Kamille has been campaigning against mass consumerism since its foundation. First of all, can you tell us a little bit more about Dille Kamille and its purpose?
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, we were founded by Freek Kamerling, and Freek was indeed a little bit early with his philosophy. Freek was working for a big retail company in the Netherlands called Macro, and at the time it was one of the leading companies, as I said. And he changed this international glamorous career for his own ideal. First, it's good to say that we're not an activist company. We are a positive empowerment company. So we don't want to preach, but we want to show the possibilities in a positive way. And that was also the idea of Freek back in 1974. And without a business plan, he decided to do retail differently because he saw everything became produced by plastic. Everything got a plug or a battery. Things were designed in a way and that it was fast fashion, so that people started to throw away things when they don't needed them anymore. And he was thinking, he was, apart from a retailer, also a philosopher. This is not a sustainable way of consuming. We need people to buy quality goods. We need to buy. We want to challenge them to buy things that are timelessly designed. So he had all kind of ideas how to proceed in a new way with consumer, because he was realistic. People always want to buy new things, and if they want to buy new things, I have to to produce them with natural materials and start using as less plastic as possible. He was not against plastic in a fundamentalistic way. He was against the one-time use of plastic. So took some time, but in 1999 we introduced the tote bag as an alternative for plastic bags that were used everywhere. So this is in a nutshell the philosophy of Freek, which we still adapt, and he called it natural simplicity. We are inspired by nature, the colors of nature, the materials of nature, the materials that nature can reproduce, especially, and by timeless design. It's not about fashion; it's about things you need, and we want to produce them in such a way that there are the basics for your life.
Super interesting to know as well, especially since the purpose is still so close to Dille and Kamille, as we see in all your brand activations. You briefly touched upon the topic of brand activism. I think we know all some inspiring examples of brand activism, mainly from B Corps. We all know, like Patagonia with their Vote Them Out campaign, or Ben and Jerry with their stance they've taken on the Israel-Palestinian conflict, or Tony Chocolonely aiming for 100% slave-free chocolate. And then at the same time, you say Dille and Kamille is not an activist company, but I understood that last Black Friday, like actually the last 5 years of Black Friday, you've closed down all your stores, not only offline, dus not only your physical stores, but also online. Isn't that an act of brand activism?
Yeah, for us in a positive way, because that day we started helping nature. So all the employees of Dille Kamille went to a nature conservation area and started helping the people there. Yes, you can say it's a deed of activism, but we want to frame it as a deed of a positive example, and we want to ask people to think before they buy, and buy not because you think it's cheap that day, but buy if you really need it. And so it was not an act of you shall not buy. If you need something and it is cheap that day, you can. But we want to make people think about things and say that they have to do it. Because in the end, the consumer, it's also always a big debate. But in the end, the consumer is as responsible as the companies. And
Mm-hmm.
so the consumer has to think also about his lifestyle and about the things he does. And we want to give a positive example that day and ask them to do the same. And it's always a paradox because we are a retailer, and the retailer wants to sell stuff and needs to sell stuff also to practice, to preach
Mm-hmm.
the lifestyle of Freek. Yeah, it's always a kind of business model that has a big paradox in itself.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also why some people rally against it,
Yeah,
mainly in
I,
the
I
US.
can understand, and I can also sympathize
Yeah.
uh, with it because the most sustainable thing so I always say we are not a sustainable company. If you live sustainable, please buy secondhand. Please think before you buy, and please loan stuff. So you don't need to have everything yourself. But we are also realistic. We live in a world where people also need new stuff, right? Because something is broken or beyond repair, or and people want to make their homes cozy. We all understand that, and that's the business we are in. And we want to be, we try to be the next best thing. So if you buy something new, we hope that we can make an offer for you that is the next best thing. It's quality, it's timeless
Mm-hmm.
design,
Yeah.
it's produced with the how do you say that, like FSA and all
Mm-hmm.
these brands that can make people more conscious about what they are buying. So that's us, and in that way, retail is never sustainable, even if you get it designed cradle to cradle, and that's what we
Mm-hmm.
have to head for the next 10, 20 years.
Can you maybe
Y-
explain cradle to the people
Now
who
that
don't
you
know?
need that you, for instance, and you take textile.
Yeah.
That's a good example. There's enough textile in Netherlands to produce for everyone. Again, so that you take post-consumer textile and you make new products out of it. That's easier said than done, because we are now at the stage. When I started, we just had normal cotton. After a few years, we got GOTS cotton, that's the certified bio cotton. So we sell a lot of cotton tablecloths, uh, everything you need from cotton in the kitchen. Um, Now we are producing a big part of our assortment in the pre-consumer recycled cotton. There's no trademark for that, so that in your assessment we would lose points. But that's the next best step after GOTS cotton. But you want to do it post cotton, and the big problem for post cotton, post consumer cotton, is that you need to add new material, and most of the times they add how do you call it, plastic,
Mm-hmm.
to make the thread stronger. Because if you recycle cotton, the cotton threads get weaker, so you have to add new material to make it stronger. But that's a kind of journey I describe in now 10 years that I'm with the club.
Yeah.
This every new step has a lot of new challenges, and that's, yeah. In the end, we want to go to post cotton. So if anyone is listening and has a solution for the weak threads, and that's produced in a natural way, we are all ears. But yeah, that's the way we want to go, and it's
Super.
step by step.
Step by step. And I think that's
Yeah.
exactly what the B Corp movement is all about as well. I mean, the B Corp movement does not consist of perfect companies. Nothing
No,
of that
no.
sort.
Now that's what was I about to say. Retail is never a perfect sustainable country. Even if you get all these materials produced the right way post-consumer, then you always need energy, kind of complicated logistic chain. It's in this world economy, it's good that things are produced closer to home, but it's
Mhm.
always also complicated, because if you produce not post-consumer cotton, you need the cotton from where it is produced, and it's only produced in big quantities in three countries: China, India, and the United States. So there's always also logistics involved.
Yeah.
That
And
makes it
yeah, and
makes it
talking about
complicated.
yeah, talking about things making things complicated. I would love to hear more about your sustainability strategy in a bit, but we have been talking about the amazing positive things which Dille Kamille is doing or has been doing in the past. But I received an interesting question from Marco Dolmeyer. Hi, Marco. Great that you're listening in. He says, Hans, I'm a big fan here, but I was wondering what is your biggest challenge at this point for the future of Dille and Camille?
Well, you have short-term and long-term challenges. The long-term challenges I just described, these very complicated supply chain. When you sell 5,000 different items, so for every item has sold has a supply chain, and the one is more complicated than the other, but you have to check them all, and that's for a small company like we are. We have a big name in the Netherlands and also in Flanders in Belgium. We are a well-known brand, and but to be honest, we are between what we call in Dutch napkin and tablecloth. Yeah? So we are not in a position to be all over the world and check everything. On paper, it's all clear, but I have to be honest, it's difficult. We work long terms with all these companies we're dealing with, but yeah, it's very hard to assess everything at the right time, at the right place, and at the right moment. So that's a challenge. It's also a challenge to take these steps to become more of an organization that is using recycled materials in the long term. And in the short terms, it's the economics, and the inflation is sky high. That puts pressure on our margin, and the costs are rising and rising. And so that's what they call the retail scissor, and the lower margins and higher costs that will cut the profit of your company. And we need the profit also to expand and to reach more people, but we also need it to give everyone to stay as a healthy economic viable company. So
Does that mean that you also will be open on Black Friday this year?
no, it doesn't. No. If you have principles, you have to walk your talk. So if you talk once, then we would have kept open last year. No, we will close this year as well. But the economic pressure is rising. That's the short term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've already touched upon the mass consumerism, which you are fighting with your activism without the pointing finger approach. Are there any topics you feel which are related to your purpose, which you could in the future maybe also be activist or vocal about, other than mass consumerism?
Yeah, well, yes, for sure, because the philosophy of Freek is not only about nature and sustainability, but it was also his concern was also about people, and that we are getting lonelier and lonelier, and that we don't know how to connect anymore, not with ourselves. So he was someone who was not by deed, but a little bit by heart. Who was how do you call it in English? It's anthroposophy. I don't know the English word, but maybe it's a little bit in that way. That's the teachings of Rudolf Steiner, and he was inviting people, if they are busy in their head, start working with your hands and try to connect your head with your heart and your hands. So make a connection, and don't live only by your head. And that was also one of his big topics, and I think that is also a topic which we are communicating to our in an inspiring way through socials with our customers, but we can also make more impact by doing things like we did on Black Friday against mass consumerism. So there's a way to go there.
Right. Thanks for sharing. Looking at the time, we have a few minutes left. There's one last thing I would love to touch upon, and that's your road to B Corp certification. It has
Yeah.
been a journey, so to say.
Yes.
It's not the end of the journey; it's just the start because
Yes. Yeah.
it's all about continuous improvement. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about why you decided to certify or
Yeah.
go for the certification journey, and what B Corp has brought
Yeah.
to Dille Kamille in terms of added value?
Yeah. But you already gave the answer yourself. It's continuous improvement, and we didn't have a system to measure what we do. We had a lot of like more idealistic companies. We had a lot of things we did by heart, and we had to learn to do them also by head. So we had to make the connection the other way around, and to start making policies, making thinking about what kind of progress we want to make in the well the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think you have to. It's hard to get to think even further in this market. And how do we measure progress? And that's where B Corp kicked in for us. It is a system that is challenging us to improve, and also pointing the finger on the spots where we can improve. So then it's up to us to improve and to measure it with the point system of B Corp. For us, it's mostly in internal. Also, we are proud to use it to the external world, but for us, it's an internal motivation tool to make people aware that we can improve and that we have to improve on certain points.
Right. And then before we ask you the last question, there's one question which just came in from Tobias Arendsen in the chat. He has a quite specific question, but nevertheless still relevant. Do you use HVO fuel for delivering to the stores?
What
The
did you?
HVO fuel, but maybe a better question is how do you
How
transfer?
we get this logistic chains green? That's a good question and a challenge. What we try to do, and it's only possible in the big cities, unfortunately, is that we want to make the footprint of the logistics, the web logistics, as green as possible. So a lot of the cities we deliver by bike by Bringley, an organization called Bringley. So, but it's hard to do it on the countryside, to be honest. So we have a lot of challenges there, but also in that case, we are not fast consumerism. We want to position ourselves as a slow consumerist organization, and you also can choose an option. I'm not in a rush. I choose for slow delivery, and then we can combine packages and we can make the chain as green as possible at that moment. So that's really a thing we are looking into and want to make progress. Also there, it's step by step. We are also a little bit dependent of our suppliers, but in the end, it has to be all electric, and we are challenging our warehouse. We have an external warehouse for web deliveries called ActiveAns, and we're challenging them also to. We are one of the few that's asking it, but we are challenging time and time again. Please use less paper for the boxes. Please use as less plastic as possible, because that are things that are really valuable to us, and we get them there. So it's also nice to see that you can challenge other companies to do the same and to feel the same. So they are really cooperating.
Yeah, and talking about challenging, let's discuss the last question in the chat before
Okay.
rounding up, and it's all about the internal challengers who have been the challengers within Dille and Camille, who really kickstarted the B Corp project, and how
Yeah.
do you, better said, go about in let's say defining a core team
Yeah.
working on it, because there may be some companies or individuals calling in who would love to do the same, but they are looking for inspiration.
Yeah. Now we really made a project out of it, and I'm talking here, but the compliments have to go to Ed Maas and Michael Mersel, with those two within our company, made everybody crazy about B Corp, and that if there was no policy, there was a policy that had to be written in the heart of what we were already doing. So it really needs, you really need dedicated people who own the project of certification, who really want to dig deep and want to be an ambassador in your organization, so that everybody's cooperating. Because I have to be honest, people love their day-to-day routines, and this is an extra thing they have to do. So you need people in your organization that are enthusiastic and that are challenging the other ones, and also have the position in your company. It's a little bit old-fashioned, but you also need some hierarchy backup, that people also really start doing it as well. And once you are doing it, you start loving it, because now everybody is on board. In the beginning, it was extra work, but now we have at the end of the process, everybody was aware of why we do it, and was loving what we were doing, and now everyone in the company is proud that we are a B Corp. So now it's a little bit easier.
Right. So in short, also for employee engagement,
Yes, yeah, very important.
Yeah, and looking at the time, I think it's time for our last question. And sorry, Kees, I already told the whole audience that it was our last question, so therefore I won't have time to answer yours now. But it's a very valid question, and happy to talk about it later on. Hans, you're a B Corp now.
Yes.
You also know quite some B Corps within our Benelux community, or maybe globally. Which 3 B Corps would you love to have breakfast with and sit down together to get inspiration from?
Okay. Ooh, that's a question I didn't prepare, but I already had a meeting, but I love to have breakfast again with them. Were the people from Bosca?
Yeah.
They make beautiful stuff, and we had a really nice conversation, and I would like to continue that one. I was last week. I was with Elho from Tilburg. Was very impressed. So it's good to talk a little bit more with them. And I'm a big fan of Patagonia, so that's also an example for me. So I would love to learn a little bit more about how they, why they are B Corp, and love to know more about their background story.
All right, great. So Patagonia, Elho,
Yeah,
and Bosca.
and Bosca.
Sounds like a diverse group of
Yes.
B Corps, and that's exactly also which can be reflected when you look at our community. Thanks so much, Hans, for being here today. Thanks so much for answering everyone's questions which we found in the chat. I wish you a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Namur.
Yeah.
And good luck with the activism without pointing that finger.
Pointing fingers. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Ciao.
Bye.